It's 9:15 and good morning everyone and welcome to our webinar about what e-signing is and how we can optimize your business processes, or how it can optimize your business processes. Let's just wait one more minute to get people on board. I'm located in Stockholm currently. The sun is shining. It's the 2nd of June. And I know we have some people attending in other Nordic countries and in Poland as well. I hope you have the same beautiful weather and that the sun is shining wherever you are. So once again, we want to welcome you warmly to our first of 3 sessions about e-signing. So thank you very much for attending today's webinar, and we are very excited that you are here. And before we would like to start, I would like to address some technical remarks. So as you may have noticed, you all are muted, and this is to prevent disturbing sound in the background that may occur, but this is not that we don't want to interact with you. So please type your questions in the box in front of you if you have any, and we will address them later on in the Q&A session afterwards. So. Again, to everyone who came a bit later, and also to the people watching on demand, we will record this. A big welcome to you, and thank you for spending 45 minutes with us this morning. I think it's time for us to introduce us, hosts. So I will start. My name is Nelly Chelius, also pronounced Nelly, and I'm working as a BDR at Cloudity. So I work with business development in the Nordics, and I'm located in Stockholm. That's where I'm currently sitting. And my role here today will be that I will be hosting this webinar. And I'm not the only one attending from Cloudity today. So we also have my dear colleague, Michael, here too. So Michael, please say some words about you.
Hello, my name is Michael Michnik, and I work in Cloudity in delivery team. I'm located in Warsaw, and every day I create, design, and implement Salesforce project in the sector of small and medium businesses. Thanks, and I'm happy that you joined us today as well.
Thanks, Michael. Yes, so we also have our great partner here today. We're doing this together with Scribe. So of course we have someone from Scribe here. Ivan, do you want to say some words?
Of course. Hello, everybody. My name is Ivan Vrede. I work at Scribe, and I work with sales, and I am situated in Stockholm.
Thank you. All right. So thanks, Ivan, and thanks, Michael. And again, this is our first out of 3 45 sessions in our mini-series about e-signing together with Scribe. So this is the introduction session, and let's move on to today's agenda and the topics that we will touch upon this first session. So we will start with some intro and talk a bit about Cloudity, Salesforce, and Scribe and the relationship between us. Then Ivan will continue by going through the definition of e-signing and give us an overview of how it works. And then Michael will talk a bit about Salesforce's role in this and go into some technical details. And then finally, we will go through some success stories and market trends in the end. We will also have a Q&A session, so I encourage you to ask questions if something is unclear. But let's start with an introduction, and I will tell you a bit about Cloudity and about Salesforce. So first, who are we? We are a platinum consulting partner. So Cloudity established 2014, and that's 6 years now. And we are a platinum consulting partner, a Salesforce partner, and that means that we help companies to use the best of Salesforce. So by using the best of Salesforce, I mean that we are implementing and we tailor-make effective business applications. And with these applications, we help companies from all kinds of industries to eliminate unnecessary processes within that company, and we help them with the change that comes with digitizing business. So before I continue saying some words about Cloudity, I want to say some words about Salesforce. I know that probably the most of you are already familiar with Salesforce or you use Salesforce, but but I will say some words for you who are not so familiar with it. So you might have heard that Salesforce is the world leading cloud-based CRM software. And it's the innovator, Salesforce is the innovator of the software as a service approach in the enterprise space. And it's been on the market since the late 90s and has evolved into one of the most innovative and comprehensive CRM solutions. So it's known for being highly customizable, helping companies to grow into more streamlined, effective, and efficient organizations across all bases, where you can sell and you can provide service, market, collaborate, get to know your customer, and build on apps on platforms, and so on. So as mentioned, it's known as being the leader in the world of custom relationship management, but it's not only a CRM, and it differs from other tools. Two things that makes it stand out, it's the ecosystem and the philosophy. So the ecosystem, also called the customer success platform, as you can see here in the picture, here's the idea to have the customer in the center and to offer all kinds of solutions around her to follow her journey. So for example, you can see applications here like marketing, sales, and commerce, surveys, IT departments, so that companies can get a complete view of the customer by aggregating data from the various touch points that a customer may use to contact a company or purchase products or receive service and support and so on. So with that said, if I'm going back to Cloudity here as a partner, so we tailor make and we implement effective business application to fit companies' needs, but we also provide digital advisory and we work with integrations and change management to ensure high system adoption. So if Salesforce is the provider of the platform and the vision, we are the implementation partner. And we often get the question if we are only a Salesforce partner, if we work with other systems, and we are very used to integrating Salesforce with other systems, so we have our expertise there, but Salesforce is our core, is our heart, our main focus. So we are only a Salesforce partner. And we've been completing over 350 implementations so far in over 25 countries, and focusing heavily on the European markets. Of course, we don't say no to projects outside of Europe, and we have big projects out of Europe, but this is where our offices are located. So here you can see we have, it's originally a Polish company, so you can see at the picture to the right, we have the Zebra Tower, which is where the most of us sit. We're about 140 people at Cloudity so far. So when I started last year, I think I was number 65 or something. So we are growing rapidly. And we also have one office in Stockholm, where I'm located, taking care of the Nordics, and one office in Berlin, taking care of the DACH area, where we have a German team. And yes, so this is my last slide, but it's the most important one also. It's about the people on board at Cloudity. So we need to be certified. All people on board are certified within all areas through Salesforce ecosystem, and we also develop our own business applications. And that's what we are going to talk more about today. So let's move on to hearing a bit more about Scribe now and what eSigning is. So Ivan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nele. So let's talk a bit about Scribe. I think you need to go back to the presentation, Nele. There, perfect. And can you skip to the next slide? Yeah. So who are Scribe? So Scribe, we've been doing e-signing since 2010, so for about 10 years now. We have customers in over 40 countries, and about 2,000 different customers are today using our service. And to date, about 2 million contracts or 20 million contracts have been signed using our system. And yearly, at this rate, about 1.5 million documents are being signed each year. And since I said, we've been doing e-signing since 2010, and we've really been able to scale our business in a time where digital maturity have been really evolving. So it's an interesting time to have a look at these parts of your business. So Nele, you can skip slide again. So let's start by looking at what is an electronic signature. And an electronic signature is the act of accepting an agreement by digital means. And there's also something called a digital signature. So I first thought that we could cover the difference between an electronic signature and a digital signature. So Nele, you can skip to the next slide again. So today there is a bit of a confusion in the market in terms of what is an electronic signature and what's a digital signature. And as I said prior to this, an electronic signature is the means of accepting something in a digital form. But a digital signature is a computer science term, and it really means that you seal or stamp something. So in terms of documents and contracts, what you do is that you protect the integrity of a document. So what Scribe does is that you can use Scribe to send a contract or a document for signing. And once a contract is signed, we use a digital signature to protect the content and protect the integrity of the document so that you are able to use this as proof in court or in a legal sense in the future. And Scribe does both of these. And what is Scribe's core business? Neil, you can move to the next slide again. So Scribe, as I said, our core is e-signing of contracts and documents, but it's a longer route than just sending a contract for signing. So what we do is we have a look at the entire spectrum of the journey of a contract. So from the moment where a contract is generated, is it something that Scribe can do to help you with this part, or do you already have a system in place of generating contracts? And how can we work together if that's the case? How can a contract then be sent for signing, and what rules should apply for this specific contract? So how many people should sign? Should there be a specific order for these people, and should they use some kind of identification or authentication along the way to prove their identity? And of course, once a contract is signed, we provide tools for you to be able to manage these contracts, from archiving to be able to follow up on reminders and contract analytics and similar stuff. And for everything regarding this, we also provide the ability to use some authentication services, for example, electronic identifications and ID verification solutions that's within our service. And in the next slide, I will talk a bit about why Scribe is relevant for this meeting in terms of Salesforce and Cloudity. So you can move to the next slide. Perfect. So Scribe has been an ISV in Salesforce, which is an independent service vendor since 2014. And we've been working with user adoption within Salesforce for about 7 years, building and developing the Salesforce app together with Cloudity. So there's a good maturity within our app, and everything has been tested and used by a lot of different companies. And I think Michael will cover more in detail and even show you a demo a bit later. But some good things to note is that there's a possibility to have a two-way sync between Scribe and Salesforce, for example, and enable e-signing from pretty much any object within Salesforce. And I think that's me for now. Let's move along.
Great, thank you. Thanks for that, Ivan. Very interesting. Now we will move on to hear more about Salesforce role within e-signing. And Michael, feel free to start anytime.
Yes, thank you, Nella. So it would be great if you can give me an access to share my screen. Or we can use the slides. Okay, so one day we met as Cloudity with Scribe and decided that together we would like to create something that would make the Scribe experience accessible for users inside Salesforce. So our cooperation resulted in a unique application that seamlessly brings Scribe's achievements to Salesforce. So as Ivan has already mentioned, the perfectly integrated functionality of the app in the platform, helps to manage the process of e-signing from its start to its finish. So only through strong cooperation, we were able to develop a strong solution, bringing that success to our customers. So as you can see on the slide, the combination of Scribe, Cloudity, and Salesforce knowledge, experience, and hard work was truly the key to opening the door to the e-signing world for the very new users in Salesforce via connected app. So now let's move to the slide, which in which I will describe app Scribe for Salesforce. I will show you the demo presentation, but before that, I would like to give you the overview of the main functionalities of the app. So Scribe for Salesforce is the easiest way, in my opinion, to harness the power of e-signing in your business. So this integration with your CRM allows you to send documents for signature, whether by email or phone. You can give your handwritten signature of a document. As well, you can customize the layout to match your company's graphic identity. You can as well send document with only one click. It's so easy. So what else? You have opportunity to monitor your flow of document, which are, for example, in progress in real time. And what is also very important, you have full data synchronization in both directions. So you have your data in Scribe and Salesforce, and I will show you how easy it is to work with this solution. And what is also very important to mention, that in Sweden, Norway, and Denmark, you can use bank ID or EID to authenticate your signatures. So probably you are very curious how it works. So I will just open the short movie, and I will describe everything you can see there. Okay. Okay, so let's say that we do some role play. I will be a person. I will be Thomas, who is a sales manager and works with huge amounts of the documents, probably in similar way as you do in your work. In many sales processes at the same time in Salesforce on a daily basis. So as an example, we'll use the process of sending the contract to the customer, in this case, Axel Landberg. So before I will show you the solution, I would like you to imagine that until now, working in the traditional way, we had to first prepare a contract, then send it by email or post to the client, and wait. And after a few days, we were informed that the contract had been signed and its scan was done, and it will come back to us again by email or post. But sometimes it happened that after those few days, we still did not know if the client even opened the document and what's the current status of it. And think, what if there are more parties to sign the contract? The described steps have to be done many times, repetitive, which makes the whole process take far too much time. And Scribe for Salesforce is definitely the game changer here. And let's see how exactly it works. So let's move on to Salesforce. So the first screen you will see is the main page of our Salesforce instance, our system. And for those of you who are not very experienced with Salesforce, or you never used it before, I'll just describe main functionalities so you will be up to date. So in top of the page, you can see the search bar, so a very useful functionality, which allows you to search for all your records in your CRM. You can find all the customers, accounts, opportunities, contracts, for example. So it's a very powerful utility. And then we can see that we have this very nice sales path. This is the visual representation of our sales path. So we know every time on which stage of the process we are, and we can easily move forward through next steps of the sales process. So down below on the right side of the screen, we will see related tabs, related lists, in which we will have like 360-degree view on every element in the system connected with this certain opportunity. So now let's talk about Scribe. And as we can see, the record of Axel Landberg is already in our system, but unfortunately we have missing mobile number. So now all we have to send the contract is just to Scribe eSign, and now and automatically we'll see automatically generated document will appear, and then we have to click send, and it's immediately in the Axel Landberg mailbox. So from this view, we see that Axel received a document, and it can be opened on his tablet, on his phone, on his desktop or laptop. And when he opens the document, he will immediately see the highlighted fields as this one, the green one, which are required to fill in. And what is also very useful here, we have this big green arrow, which helps us to navigate through fields that concern Axel. So now we can sign the document. So Axel can now use his handwritten signature just like this and click sign. Now we have to confirm that we want to sign this document, and we will see the confirmation of this act. And of course, our contract with a signature and with verification page, which authenticates that the Axel's signature is original. So now let's move back to Salesforce, and let's see what has been changed in our opportunity record. So let's move to the opportunity called demo. And we can immediately see that on the right side of the screen, we have this tab Scribe documents, and we'll see there are all documents signed, sent through Salesforce and Scribe. And as well, we see that mobile number, which were missing previously, now is added because Axel entered it in the contract. So we have a great example of both way synchronization between Salesforce and Scribe. Just give me please a second, and let's get back to the slides. Okay, so when we know how it works, it would be great also to know where to get it. So downloading the application is very simple and requires no additional technical knowledge, thanks to use of AppExchange. And for those who have not previously had to deal with this concept with Salesforce, it is a platform with applications dedicated to the Salesforce, very similar in its functioning to Google Play or App Store. And access to AppExchange is possible from your Salesforce in the setup menu. After starting the AppExchange, the next step is to find Scribe for Salesforce and select our application. The last step is to click Get It Now and install the application on your company's platform. And even though it's only 3 steps, for less experienced users, it may be concerning, it may be a little bit difficult, and I would like to assure you, and I would like you to not worry about that, because during the next session, I will go through this process, through the installation process, step by step, explaining every part of the process. So you will be sure that you know how to do this at your own Salesforce platform. So thank you. I think, Nella, I can give you, we can get back to you.
Great, so perfect. Can you see my screen? Okay, so thank you,
Yes.
thank you, Michael. Now, I think that was good. Now we understand the relationship between us more and how it works. And as Michael said, this is the introduction in this series, and next week we will go deeper into the technical parts of this to get a deeper understanding. So before we move on with seeing some success stories and talk about that, I would like to just ask a question to you attendees here. So please answer this in 2 minutes. Can you see the question on the screen? So just take 2 minutes and answer this quick question, and it's good for us to have this knowledge before next week. We'll just wait some seconds before we get all answers. 20 seconds more. Great, seems like everybody gave a quick answer. Everybody voted, 40% at least. Okay. All right. Just 10 more seconds here. Okay, great. So we have an answer, and we can share our results. So we have a very 100% results of contracts still processed on paper, and that's good to know for our future sessions that we will have. Okay, so let's continue with Ivan. Please, the floor is yours.
Thanks. So let's talk a bit about some success stories. So I think there's actually one attendee from DNB, which is quite fun. But DNB does a lot of things, but for one of the parts of their business, they're a non-captive automotive finance company. And being that, they felt like they needed to be better than everyone else to be able to get car dealerships to want to use them as the designated finance company, and they started investigating how they could do that. And one part was using Scribe for e-signatures. So Neda, if you come to the next slide. So what DNB found was that before implementing e-signing, they had a contract error rate of 12%, which meant that for 12% of a lot of contracts, it actually contained an error. And for each of these errors, both a client and the contract. So first, the contract needed to be sent back to the car dealership, and secondly, the customer needed to return to the car dealership to re-sign a document. And once they implemented e-signing, they were able to turn this contract error rate down to 0% due to everything being handled by computers, basically. Given that they were able to electronically sign a contract, they were also able to reduce the payout time to the dealerships. So the payout time was initially at minimum about 5 days, sometimes even longer, especially if an error occurred. It could take a few weeks. But once they implemented e-signing, they could almost guarantee a payout time of 30 minutes. This turned out to be way more valuable than they initially thought when they implemented this. So the result of all of these benefits made it so that they won an increased amount of dealerships, increasing their business even further within that specific market space. And a good take on this is that when you have a look at implementing something similar to e-signature, you can have a great look at how can you get a huge return of investment on using electronic signatures and digitizing these parts of your internal process, because it might be a few things that you don't think about at first. And let's move to the second success story, which is another bank. So this is for Avanza Bank, an internet bank in Sweden. So before implementing e-signing, they had a problem. So when a customer signed up on their webpage saying that they wanted to become a user of the bank, they needed to send out a paper document for the customer in turn to sign. This of course creates a pretty long onboarding journey, making the time for a customer to get started become even more longer than it really should be. So let's move to the next slide. So what Avanza did was that they implemented Scribe for sending these documents. And what they saw as an effect was that they got an 80% lower onboarding time for all of the prospects. This in turn increased their deposit by 20%, which was 500 million Swedish crowns, which is quite a lot and a huge return on investment. And as a topping on this, they also received an even less administration burden and the task. And they also saw that if a customer signed online, they were twice as likely to transfer money to the bank, which is a pretty huge deal for them. And this is my success stories. If you guys have any questions, please type them in the chat. And now I'll go on to speak about some of the market trends within e-signing. And you can skip to the next slide, Nela. So what we see in the market today, especially being from the Nordic market, we're seeing that ID verification and electronic ID solutions are pretty much becoming a standard in some parts of Europe. And given the new rush of different types of ID verification tools, we can even see it being used in more countries which prior to now didn't really have a national governed electronic identification solution. So at Scribe, we have implemented a ton of different electronic ID solutions and ID verification tools to combine it with the signing of a contract, so that when a customer signs, he also needs to use a certain level of authentication to improve the evidence of a specific contract. And what we see is that in markets where the ID verification and eID solutions are becoming more and more common, the adoption level of electronic signing is becoming even greater. So we see that the market will only be able to evolve from here, and more people will start moving in this direction. And that's me with market trends. So I think we can move on even more. And that's it for me, I think.
Yes, thank you, Ivan, and thank you for sharing that inspirational success stories. And I can see that we have collected a couple of questions during this time, and we will soon walk through them. But before that, I will mention like the next sessions we have, because this is a series of 3. Of course, this was the introduction session. So next week, the same time, session 2 is on June the 9th between 9:15 and 10. And we will talk about the journey and how to start with Scribe within Salesforce, and we will also go through step-by-step installation and configuration. We also have the third session, which is the week after, the 16th of June, which is our last session, where we will talk about how to gain full efficiency and more advanced functionalities. Do you have, Michael, before the Q&A, do you have something you want to add here? What can we expect next week?
Yes, thanks for the the mentioning. Next session, during the next session, as you mentioned, I will show our participants exactly how to go through this process, how to do this step by step, how to prepare the basic system configuration to work it well. And we'll also send our first documents together via Scribe to be signed. So next session will be crucial in the whole process. So that means that after the second session, you will be able to set up and use the Scribe yourself. It's great, I think. And the third session will focus on more advanced application functionalities to bring out the full potential of eSigning in Salesforce. We will discuss user management and creation of automation that will allow to create this one-click experience. And moreover, we'll see how multi-level document approval processes can be tackled in practice, in business practice. So that's the outline for the next sessions.
Great. So I'm looking forward to that. And I know that we have some questions, and I encourage you, if something is unclear or you have any questions, so please type them in the box in front of you, and we will address them now. So I think we have one question here, and I would say it's to you, Ivan, for you to answer. The question is from Johannes. Is it possible to have, I think you mentioned it before in one slide, but is it possible to have the two-way connector from Salesforce and the other way around? Will you just explain?
Yeah, sure. So this is one of the most important things with the Scribe app within Salesforce. So the possibility to, first of all, take data from Salesforce and populate a document with it so that you don't have to type it anywhere else except for the place where you already have all of the data. And the possibility to gather data during the signature part of the process and then populate certain objects and places within Salesforce with this data so that you get a sleepless experience and don't need to, or it gives you the possibility to improve the data quality tremendously, I'd say.
Great, thanks. I hope that was what Johannes was wanted to know. We also have a question, and it's also to you, Ivan, from Axel. What is the role of the signature? Is it symbolic, or and what's about the security there?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and it's a pretty interesting thing to talk about as well. So if what Axel is referring to is the written scribble, so to say, in a legal sense, it doesn't have a huge amount of value. So if we look back at Michael's demo, you could see at the end he clicked a button that said sign. That's where he proves his intention of signing this contract, and that's where he agrees on basically everything within the document and the content. We can see that a lot of companies either decide to not use the scribble because it in that sense doesn't have sort of the huge legal burden as it does on paper. However, a lot of companies still want to use it because a lot of people are used to doing that during the signing process, and they want to maintain that aspect of it. But we provide the option of either using the scribble or not. It's really up to the customer to decide how they want to use it.
Good. Okay. And the third one, I think the third one is to you as well, Ivan. It's about Scribe. So Maria is asking, how do you store the contracts and the paperwork compared to real documents?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. So if a contract is signed with Scribe, I mentioned a bit in the beginning that we digitally sign and seal a contract, so we protect the integrity of it. And that also means that the contract should be stored in an electronic form. So if you were to print it, it would lose that benefit, so to say. So in default, contracts are stored, or we provide the ability to store contracts within the Scribe system. And there's also a possibility to store them within Salesforce. It's really up to you to decide how you would like to do it, because you own the data, so you decide what should happen to it after it's signed, basically. Either stored in Scribe or Salesforce, or if you happen to have some other archiving system and want to store it there, it's also a possibility. but it should be stored in an electronic format, which is good.
Yeah. All right, so if you have any more questions, please type them now. I think we are almost done with the first intro session today. So this was the first out of 3 sessions in this series, and don't miss the other ones next week. As we talked about, we will talk about about the journey and how to start with Scribe within Salesforce, and we will go more through step by step of the installation and the technical parts. So I also, of course, thank you for watching a lot, and we are very happy to talk more after this webinar. I will follow up with you. If you have any questions after this, to Ivan or to me or to Michael, feel free to reach out. And if you're interested in how this might look like within your organization, we are happy to help you to have a dialogue about that. So I hope to see you in next week, the same time, where we have session 2, the 9th of June, the same time. So thank you for taking your time this morning, and see you next week.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Have a nice week. Bye.
Bye.